Hi students, as you know, NDA has introduced a new unit in the chemistry syllabus for both NEET and JEE from the year 2024 onwards. The new unit included is the principles related to practical chemistry. Since it is a newly introduced topic, the necessary study materials may not be available in print and visual media. But you need not worry. I am uploading video classes through my YouTube channel explaining the theory related to chemistry practical, which include a lot of multiple choice questions and their well explained answers. By the way, I am Dr. Cyriac Matthew, a retired associate professor in chemistry. The purpose of my channel, Chemistry Master, is to upload video classes related to topics in chemistry within secondary, undergraduate, and postgraduate levels. At present, I am uploading video classes related to NEET, JEE Main and Advanced, and other entrance examinations. There will be a set of video classes for each chapter. In the present set of videos, we discuss the principles related to practical chemistry. This set includes 6 video classes. The first one, titled as Principles Related to Practical Chemistry, Part 1A, explained detection of extra elements and detection of functional groups. The second, titled as Principles Related to Practical Chemistry, Part 1B, contains multiple choice questions related to Part 1A. Part 2 explains preparation of some organic and inorganic compounds and a titrimetric analysis. Part 3, qualitative analysis for anions, and Part 4, qualitative analysis for cations. The Part 5 explains some physical chemistry experiments. At the end of each part, multiple choice questions related to that part are explained. Even if you go through a handbook of chemistry practical several times, you may not be able to remember the experiments and the theory behind it. But an audiovisual presentation will catch your attention. That is why I have introduced a lot of animations in these video classes so that you will get a feel of doing the experiments in the laboratory. However, animations never represent the real situation. And this is not an instruction manual for doing the experiments in the lab. The main purpose is to make you understand the theory behind the experiments. In the laboratory, you have to take several precautionary measures while doing the experiments. For your convenience, I have introduced video chapters or timestamps in the description part of the videos. This will help you to watch and rewatch separately the different topics explained in a particular video. The links for other videos are also given in the description part. You can easily move to any of these 6 videos using these links. I hope these video classes will definitely help you to understand the theory behind the experiments. If you like the video, please subscribe my channel and forward to others. You can expect similar video classes from other chapters of Class 11 and Class 12 Chemistry soon. In this video, we discuss some multiple choice questions related to topics studied in the video, Principles Related to Practical Chemistry Part 2. These are the chemistry involved in the preparation of some organic and inorganic compounds and a titrimetric analysis. Question 1. In the preparation of paranitroacetanilide, small amounts of orthonitroacetanilide will also be formed. Paranitroacetanilide can be separated from orthonitroacetanilide by option 1, evaporation, option 2, recrystallization, option 3, ether separation, option 4, steam distillation. Among the options, we can eliminate option 3 and option 4. Now, in evaporation, only the solvent will be removed. So we choose recrystallization, and that is the correct answer. During recrystallization from alcohol, orthonitroacetaldehyde will remain in the mother liquor. Question number 2. Acetylating mixture is 1:1 mixture of acetic anhydride and glacial acetic acid. 1:1 mixture of acetyl chloride and dry pyridine. 3. Both 1 and 2. 4. 1:1 mixture of concentrated nitric acid and concentrated sulfuric acid. We eliminate option 4 and we know that it is nitrating mixture. This mixture of acetic anhydride and glacial acetic acid as well as acetyl chloride and a dry pyridine are called acetylating mixture. So option 3 is the correct answer. Question number 3. It is an assertion reason type question. In the preparation of acetaldehyde, the apparatus and reagent used must be perfectly dry. Reason: the reaction does not take place under moist conditions. Option 1. Both assertion and reason are correct, and reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Option 2. Both assertion and reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. Assertion is correct, but reason incorrect. Assertion is incorrect, but reason correct. Under moist conditions, acetic anhydride and acetyl chloride undergo hydrolysis. Acetic anhydride will be hydrolyzed to acetic acid, and acetyl chloride will be hydrolyzed to acetic acid and HCl. So under moist condition, the reaction will not take place. So assertion is correct, and a reason also is correct, and a reason explains the assertion. So we choose option 1. Question 4. Aniline yellow is paranitroacetaldehyde, 2 orthonitroacetaldehyde, diazoaminobenzene, and option 4 para-aminoacetabenzene. And we know aniline yellow is para-aminoacetabenzene. That is the correct answer. It is prepared in the following way. Diazoaminobenzene is dissolved in aniline with a small quantity of aniline hydrochloride, and the mixture is kept at about 40 degrees Celsius for a short time. It gets converted to para-aminoacetabenzene. Question 5. An aqueous solution of potash alum is A. Acidic, B. Basic, C. Neutral, D. Soapy. Potash alum is K2SO4, aluminum SO4 24H2. In aqueous solution, it gets hydrolyzed and aluminum sulfate dissociates into its ions. As it is a salt of a weak base, aluminum hydroxide, and a strong acid, sulfuric acid, the resulting solution will be acidic. So the answer is option 1. Question 6. Mole salt is FeSO4 NH4 twice SO4 24H2O, FeSO4 Al2SO4, FeSO4 ammonium sulfate 6H2O, and 4 FeSO4 NH4 twice FeSO4 thrice NH4 twice SO4. We know mole salt is a double salt of ferrous sulfate and ammonium sulfate with 6 molecules of water as water crystallization. So the correct answer will be option 3. Then question number 7. Statement 1. Titrometric analysis involves the measurement of volume only. Statement 2. Gravimetric analysis involves the measurement of mass only. Option 1. Both statements 1 and 2 are correct. Both statements 1 and 2 are incorrect. Statement 1 is correct but 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is incorrect but 2 is correct. Gravimetric analysis involves the measurement of volume as well as mass. So statement 2 must be wrong. So the correct answer is statement 1 is correct but 2 is incorrect. Question 8. An assertion reason type question. It is not possible to determine the equivalence point of a titration experimentally. There exist inadequacies in physical changes and in our ability to observe them. 1. Assertion and reason are correct, and reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Assertion and reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. Assertion is correct, but reason incorrect. Assertion is incorrect, but reason correct. The point at which a reaction is complete is called equivalence point, or theoretical stoichiometric end point. Difference occurs between equivalence point and the end point we observe. Equivalence point is theoretical, while end point is physically observed. So, assertion is correct. It is not possible to determine the equivalence point of a titration experimentally. And the reason also is correct. There exist inadequacies in physical changes and in our ability to observe them. And that is the reason why we cannot determine the equivalence point of a titration experimentally. So, assertion and reason are correct, and a reason is the correct explanation of assertion. So, we choose option 1, and that is the correct answer. Then question number 9. The titration error is 1. Error in taking burette reading, error in measurement using pipette, the difference between equivalence point and observed end point, for all the above. And it is the difference between equivalence point and observed end point, and that is called the titration error. So option 3 is the correct answer. Question number 10. A primary standard is a compound which should be available in high purity, should possess atmospheric stability, should not contain hydrate of water, all the above. Options 1, 2 and 3 are criteria for a primary standard. So option 4, all the above, is the correct answer. Yes, that is the correct answer. Question number 11. That also is an assertion reason type question. A primary standard should have reasonably large molar mass. Reason: weighing can be less accurate in such cases. Option 1. Assertion and reason are correct, and reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Assertion and reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. 3. Assertion is correct, but reason is incorrect. Assertion is incorrect, but reason is correct. If we use a primary standard with a larger molar mass, It will minimize the relative error associated with weighing the standard. For example, sodium carbonate has a molar mass of 106 gram per mole. So to prepare 100 ml 0.1 solution, we need to weigh 1.06 gram. On the other hand, if the molar mass is 40 gram per mole, we need to weigh 0.4 gram for the preparation of 100 ml of 0.1 molar solution. The first weighing will be more accurate compared to the second one since we are weighing a larger amount. In quantitative works, weighing should be accurate. So the reason is wrong. Weighing can be less accurate. And this is a wrong statement. So the answer will be assertion is correct, but reason is incorrect. Question number 12. Which of the following compounds can be used as a primary standard in titrimetric analysis? Sodium thiosulfate, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydrogen phthalate, potassium permanganate. Option 1, 2 and 4 are used as secondary standard. So the correct option will be 3. Potassium hydrogen phthalate. That is the correct answer. It behaves as a monobasic acid. It can be used as a primary standard for the standardization of sodium hydroxide. Phenolphthalein is used as the indicator. Question 13. The mass of oxalic acid required to prepare 100 ml 0.2 molar solution is option 1 2 gram, option 2 1.8 gram, option 3 25.2 gram, option 4 2.52 gram. Since this is a numerical question, we have to calculate the mass required. The formula is, this is molarity, that is mass of A divided by molar mass of A and volume of the solution in liter. So the required mass will be molarity into molar mass into volume in liters. So the required molarity is 0.2. Oxalic acid molar mass is 126 gram per mole. 100 ml, that means 0.1 liter. And that is 2.52 gram. Hence the correct option is option 4. Question 14. A tribasic acid among the following is 1 H3PO4, 2 CH3COH, 3 H2SO4 and 4 H3PO3. The basicity of an acid is number of reactive hydrogen atoms present in the molecule or number of replaceable hydrogen atoms. The structure of H3PO4, that is phosphoric acid, is this one. And all the 3 hydrogen atoms can be replaced. So H3PO4 must be a tribasic acid. And that is the correct answer. In acetic acid only, this hydrogen is replaceable. So it is a monobasic acid. The sulfuric acid is a dibasic acid. And H3PO3, that is phosphonic acid, only 2 hydrogen atoms can be replaced. Only 2 hydroxyl groups are there. So even though 3 hydrogen atoms are there, it is a dibasic acid. Question number 15. What volume V of 0.1 molar oxalic acid, molar mass M1, is equivalent to 0.2 molar 50 ml sodium hydroxide, molar mass M2? Option 1, V is equal to 50 M2 by M1, V equals 50 M1 by M2, V equals 50 M1 by 2 M2, V equals 50 M2 by 2 M1. And we know oxalic acid is a dibasic acid. But acidity of NaOH is 1. So this is the reaction between oxalic acid and sodium hydroxide. Sodium oxalate is formed. The titration relation is 2M1 into V is equal to M2V2. And 2 is the basicity of oxalic acid and 1 is the acidity of NaOH. So V equals M2V2 by 2M1. So option 4 is the correct answer. Question number 16. 50 ml of 0.1 molar sodium hydroxide solution is required to neutralize 125 ml of HCl solution. The concentration of HCl solution is option 1 0.4 molar, option 2 0.2 molar, option 3 0.4 molar, and option 4 0.2 molar. Since this is a numerical question, we have to calculate the concentration first. So the titration relation will be A1M1 V1 is equal to A2M2 V2, where A1 is the basicity of the acid, A2 is the acidity of the base. So therefore M1 will be equal to 1 into 0.1 into 50 divided by 1 into 125. For HCl, the basicity is 1, and for NaOH, the acidity also is 1. So the answer is 0.04 mole per liter. That is, option 3 is correct. Question number 17. What will be the concentration of sulfuric acid solution if it is completely neutralized by 50 ml 0.5 molar potassium hydroxide solution? The amount of sulfuric acid taken is 125 ml. Option 1 0.2 molar, option 2 0.1 molar, option 3 0.15 molar, option 4 1 molar. Again, in this question also we have to calculate the concentration first. And the same equation can be used here. But sulfuric acid basicity is equal to 2. And for KOH, acidity is 1. So M1 is equal to 1 into 0.5 into 50 divided by 2 into 125. And that is 0.1 mole per liter. So answer is option 2. Question 18. How many moles of HCl are present in 35.5 ml of a 0.2 molar aqueous solution of HCl? Option 1 0.236 mole, option 2 0.178 mole, option 3 0.071 mole, option 4 0.0071 mole. Since it is a numerical question, we have to calculate first the answer. We know 1000 ml of 0.2 molar solution contain 0.2 moles of HCl. Therefore, 35.5 ml of 0.2 molar solution must contain 0.2 by 1000 into 35.5. Therefore, it is 0.0071 mole. So, the fourth option is the correct option. Yes, that is the correct answer. Question number 19. 2 liter of 0.01 molar aqueous HCl solution was diluted by adding 1 liter water. The molarity of the resulting solution is 1 0.067, 2 0.0038, 3 0.0067 and 4 0.038. First we calculate the answer. We know M1V1 is equal to M2V2. In fact, we are diluting the HCl solution by adding 1 liter water. So this is the dilution equation. So we need M2. So M2 is equal to 2 into 0.01 by 3 and that is 0.0067 molar. So the option 3 is the correct option. Question number 20. Phosphoric acid reacts with the sodium hydroxide according to the following reaction. S3PO4 plus 3 NaOH giving Na3PO4 plus 3 H2O. If 40 ml phosphoric acid is completely neutralized by 40 ml 0.2 molar NaOH, the molarity of phosphoric acid solution is option 1, option 2, option 3 and option 4. We know phosphoric acid is a tribasic acid. So we can use the relation 3 into M1V1 is equal to 1 into M2V2. 3 is the basicity of phosphoric acid and 1 is the acidity of sodium hydroxide. Therefore, M1 is equal to 1 into 0.2 into 40 divided by 3 into 40 and that is 0.067. So, option 1 is the correct answer. Question 21. The mass of anhydrous sodium carbonate required to prepare 250 ml 0.2 normal solution is. Molar mass of sodium carbonate is 106 gram per mole. Option 1 5.3 gram, 53 gram, 2.65 gram and option 4 4 gram. We need some numerical calculation. The equivalent mass of sodium carbonate is molar mass by 2, that is 106 by 2, that is 53. Now we need the required weight. We know this equation. W is equal to equivalent mass into normality into volume in liter. Equivalent mass is 53. Normality, the required normality is 0.2 and the volume is 250 ml or 0.25 liter. That is, the mass is equal to 2.65 gram. So this is the correct answer. Question 22. S3PO4, a tribasic acid, reacts with the sodium hydroxide according to the following equation. If the molarity of S3PO4 solution is 0.3 molar, what will be the normality of the same solution? The equation is S3PO4 plus 2 NaOH giving Na2HPO4 plus 2H2O. Option 1 0.3 normal, option 2 0.6 normal, option 3 0.9 normal and option 4 0.15 normal. And we need some calculation. We know normality is equal to basicity into molarity. From the equation, 1 mole of H3PO4 is equivalent to 2 moles of NaOH. 2 moles of NaOH is 2 equivalents of NaOH. Therefore, the equivalent mass of H3PO4 in this reaction should be molar mass by 2. This is because H3PO4 dissociates as HPO4 2-. So the product formed is Na2HPO4. Therefore, the basicity of H3PO4 is 2. Hence normality should be 2 into 0.3, that is 0.6 equivalent per liter. So the correct answer is this one. Question number 23. Suppose that we have 100 ml 0.1 molar oxalic acid solution. To make it 0.2 molar, option 1, add 0.2 mole oxalic acid. 2, add 0.02 mole oxalic acid. 3, add 0.1 mole oxalic acid. 4, add 0.01 mole oxalic acid. We know 1000 ml 0.1 molar oxalic acid solution contain 0.1 mole oxalic acid. Therefore, 100 ml will contain 0.1 by 1000 into 100, that is 0.01 mole. Therefore, this solution contains 0.01 mole oxalic acid. We know 1000 ml 0.2 molar oxalic acid contain 0.2 mole of oxalic acid. Therefore, 100 ml will contain 0.2 by 1000 into 100, that is 0.02 mole. And the required molarity is 0.2. So, therefore, we need to add 0.02 minus 0.01, that is 0.01 mole to this 100 ml 0.1 mole oxalic acid to make it to 0.2 molar. So the answer is option 4. That is the correct answer. Question 24. The preferred indicator that can be used in the titration of strong acid against a weak base is 1. Phenolphthalein, 2. methyl orange, 3. alizarin yellow, 4. diphenylamine. Since the acid is strong and the base is weak, we must use methyl orange. Question number 25. The preferred indicator that can be used in the titration of weak acid against strong base is option 1. phenolphthalein, methyl orange, alizarin yellow, and 4. diphenylamine. Since the base is strong, we must use phenolphthalein. Question number 26. The preferred indicator that can be used in the titration of strong acid against strong base is 1. phenolphthalein, methyl orange, phenolphthalein or methyl orange, diphenylamine. We know in the case of strong acid and strong base, either phenolphthalein or methyl orange can be used. That is the correct answer. In strong acid strong base titrations, the amount of acid and base become chemically equivalent at the end point. If small amount of acid or base is added after the end point, the solution becomes slightly acidic or basic, and a sudden change in the pH of the solution occurs. These pH changes corresponds to the color changes for either phenolphthalein or methyl orange. Question number 27. The pH range in which phenolphthalein shows color change is 1. 8.3 to 10, 10 to 12, 3.1 to 4.4, and option 4, 4.4 to 6.2. We know the color change of phenolphthalein occurs in the pH range of 8.3 to 10. That is the correct answer. Question number 28. It is an assertion reason type. In acid medium, methyl orange accepts a proton and shows pinkish red color. Reason: methyl orange is a weak base, and by accepting a proton, it changes from benzenoid to quininoid form. 1. Both the assertion and reason are correct, and a reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Both assertion and reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation for assertion. 3. Assertion is correct, but reason is incorrect. For both assertion and a reason are incorrect. And this is the benzenoid form, and this is the quininoid form. In acid medium, methyl orange accepts a proton and shows a pink color. Methyl orange is a weak base, and by accepting a proton, it changes from benzenoid to quinonoid form. And the quinonoid form is responsible for the pink color. So, both assertion and reason are correct. The reason is the correct explanation for assertion. So, that is the correct answer. 29. The pH range in which methyl orange show color change is 8.3 to 10, 10 to 12, 3.1 to 4.4, 4.4 to 6.2. So for methyl orange, it is 3.1 to 4.4. Option 3 is the correct answer. 8.3 to 10 is for phenolphthalein. Question number 30. Among the titrations shown below, which one will have the endpoint at a pH more than 8? 1. HCl versus NH4OH, acetic acid versus NH4OH, HCl versus NaOH, acetic acid versus NaOH. In weak acid strong base titrations, preferably alkali is taken in the burette. The last drop of added alkali brings the pH of the solution in the range 8 to 10. That is suitable for the color change for phenolphthalein. And here, the fourth option, acetic acid is a weak acid and sodium hydroxide is a strong base. So, fourth option must be the correct answer. Question number 31. In the titration between oxalic acid and sodium hydroxide, the preferred indicator and the solution to be taken in the burette is a methyl orange and oxalic acid in the burette, 2. Phenolphthalein and oxalic acid in the burette, 3. Phenolphthalein and NaOH in the burette, 4. Methyl orange and NaOH in the burette. In the titration between strong acid and strong base and weak acid, phenolphthalein is the preferred indicator. Oxalic acid is a weak acid and NaOH is a strong base. In this case, NaOH is taken in the burette and oxalic acid is taken in the conical flask. Color of the solution taken in the flask changes from colorless to pink. This change of color is easily perceptible to the human eye. If we take NaOH in the titration flask, the color change will be from pink to colorless, and accuracy in noting the color change may be less. Question number 32. Assertion. For a weak acid versus strong base titration, phenolphthalein is the most suitable indicator. Reason: in acid-base titration, phenolphthalein and methyl orange are suitable indicators. Option 1, both assertion and reason are correct, and a reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Both assertion and reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion. Assertion is correct, but reason incorrect. Both assertion and reason are incorrect. In a weak acid strong base titration, alkali is taken in the burette. The last drop of added alkali brings the pH of the solution in the range in which phenolphthalein shows sharp color change. Question number 33. The ideal indicator for titration of strong acid and weak base should have a pH range of 5 to 8, 4 to 6, 8 to 10 and 7 to 8. Since the acid is strong and base is weak, the suitable indicator is methyl orange and 3.1 to 4.4. So approximately we can choose option number 2. That is the correct answer. Question 34. 100 ml 0.1 molar HCl is mixed with 100 ml 0.5 molar HCl. The molarity of the resulting solution is 0.6, 0.3, 0.4 and 0.5. So we have to calculate the molarity using the dilution relation. That is M1V1 plus M2V2 is equal to M into V, where M is the molarity of the resulting solution and V is the volume of the resulting solution. So we are mixing 100 ml and 100 ml. So total volume will be 200. So therefore M is equal to M1V1 plus M2V2 by V. That is 0.1 into 100 plus 0.5 into 100 divided by 200, and that is 0.3 molar. So option 2 is the correct answer. Question number 35. 50 ml of 0.1 molar HCl is needed for complete neutralization of 25 ml sodium carbonate solution. The molarity of sodium carbonate is first option 0.1, 0.2, 0.15 and 0.18. So we have to calculate it. This is the balanced reaction between HCl and sodium carbonate. So therefore we can use this relation. That is M1V1 by 2, M2V2 by 1. So M2 is equal to 0.1 into 50 divided by 2 into 25, and that will be 0.1 molar. Also we can use the relation A1M1 V1 is equal to A2M2 V2, where A1 is the basicity of the acid. For HCl it is 1. And A2 is the acidity of the base. For sodium carbonate it is 2. So we get M2 as 1 into 0.1 into 50 by 2 into 25. That again is 0.1 molar. So the answer is option 1, that is 0.1 molar. Question number 36. Common indicators cannot be used for titration between a weak acid and a weak base. Reason: both a weak acid and weak base ionize only partially. Option 1. Both assertion and reason are correct, and a reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. Both assertion and reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion. Assertion is correct, but reason is incorrect. Both assertion and reason are incorrect. Common indicators cannot be used for titration between a weak acid and a weak base. In such cases, the pH change at the equivalence point is very small, and a usual indicator may not be able to detect it. Therefore, indicators that are specific to weak acid or weak base or some other method of titration must be used. A reason is correct, but it is not the correct explanation for the assertion. So we choose option 2. That is the correct answer. Question number 37. 4 titrations are listed below. Among these titrations, the redox titrations is or are HCl versus NaOH, oxalic acid versus NaOH, oxalic acid versus KMnO4, parasulfate versus potassium dichromate. Option 1, A and B. Option 2, B and B, C and D. And option 3, C and D. And option 4, A, B, C and D. And we know that KMnO4 and potassium dichromate are oxidizing agents. So the answer option 3 is the correct answer. Yes, that is the correct answer. Question 38. KMnO4 is not used as a primary standard, while potassium dichromate is used as a primary standard. Reason: both KMnO4 and potassium dichromate are used as primary standard in redox titrations. Option 1, both assertion and reason are correct, and a reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Both assertion and reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. Assertion is correct, but reason is incorrect. Assertion is incorrect, but reason is correct. KMnO4 is not used as a primary standard because the aqueous solution of permanganate is thermodynamically unstable. This is because permanganate can oxidize water to oxygen and itself reduce to manganese dioxide. So 4MnO4 minus plus H2O, 4MnO2 plus 3O2 plus 4OH minus. On the other hand, potassium dichromate is used as a primary standard because of the long-term stability of its solution. So, assertion is correct, but reason is incorrect. That is, KMnO4 is not used as a primary standard. Therefore, the option 3 is the correct answer. Question 39, statement 1. In titrometric experiments, never rinse the conical flask with the titrant. Statement 2. In titrometric experiment, the burette should be rinsed with the titrant. Both statements 1 and 2 are false. Both statements 1 and 2 are true. Statement 1 is true, but 2 is false. Statement 1 is false, but 2 is true. And here both the statements 1 and 2 are true. When titration flask is rinsed with the titrant, some titrant will remain in the flask and the volume of titrant will be higher than that is added. The titration will be wrong in such cases. Question 40. In redox titrations with KMnO4, the indicator used is phenolphthalein, methyl orange, diphenylamine, and no indicator is needed. For KMnO4, it acts as a self-indicator. So, option 4 is the correct answer. Question 41. In acid medium, KMnO4 oxidizes oxalic acid to carbon dioxide and itself reduced to Mn2+. The acid used to make medium acidic should be dilute sulfuric acid, dilute HCl, dilute HNO3, all the above. So in KMnO4 titration, we use dilute sulfuric acid, and that is the correct answer. Nitric acid should not be used as it is an oxidizing agent. HCl react with the KMnO4 and produce chlorine. Chlorine, which is also an oxidizing agent in the aqueous solution. That is 2 KMnO4 plus 16 HCl, 2 KCl, MnCl2 and 5 chlorine. So the correct answer is option 1. Question number 42. 20 ml oxalic acid was titrated in acid medium with 0.1 molar potassium permanganate. The volume of potassium permanganate used was 20 ml. The molarity of oxalic acid solution is a 0.1 molar, 0.15 molar, 0.25 molar, 0.2 molar. First, we have to balance the reaction between oxalic acid and potassium permanganate. So the ionic reaction is MnO4 minus plus C2O4 2 minus giving Mn2 plus 2 CO2. Now the oxidation state of manganese is plus 7, carbon plus 3, Mn2 plus 2, carbon dioxide carbon plus 4. The oxidation number for manganese decreased by 5 per atom. The oxidation number of carbon increased by 1 per atom. So the total increase in oxidation number is 1 into 2, 2, total decrease in oscillation number 1 into 5, and that is 5. To equalize increase and decrease, we multiply by 5 and 2. Therefore, the partially balanced equation will be 2MnO4 minus plus 5C2O4 2 minus. And we are not interested in the products. We need only the ratio between these two. Therefore, the titration relation can be M1V1 by 2 is equal to M2V2 5. So therefore M2 is equal to M1V1 into 5, 2 into V2, and this is equal to 0.25 molar. So option 3 is the correct answer. Question 43. The volume of 0.2 molar MnO4 minus solution required to oxidize 40 ml of 0.1 molar ferrous iron solution is 100 ml, 20 ml, 30 ml or 40 ml. So we have to calculate the value. So the balanced reaction between potassium permanganate and ferrous sulfate is this one. That is 1 mole of MnO4 minus needs 5 moles of ferrous iron. So the titration relation could be written as M1V1 by 1 is equal to M2V2 by 5. So from this V1 is equal to 40 ml. So option 4 is the correct answer. Question 44. An assertion reason type question. During titration of oxalic acid against potassium permanganate, warming of oxalic acid along with sulfuric acid is needed before starting the titration. Reason: no heating is needed when ferrous sulfate is titrated against potassium permanganate. Option 1, both assertion and reason are correct, and a reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Both the assertion and reason are correct, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. Assertion is correct but reason wrong. Assertion is incorrect but reason is correct. We know when oxalic acid is titrated against potassium permanganate, warming of oxalic acid solution, that is to about 52 degrees Celsius, along with dilute sulfuric acid is needed. This is because the rate of the reaction is low at the beginning. Heating increases the rate. Moreover, the manganese sulfate formed during the titration acts as a catalyst for the reduction of potassium permanganate by oxalic acid. That is why the rate is low at the beginning, and as the reaction proceeds, the rate of the reaction increases. For ferrous sulfate or mole salt, heating is not needed because the rate of the reaction is high even at room temperature. Moreover, at a higher temperature, the ferrous iron may be oxidized to ferric iron by oxygen or air, causing error in the experiment. So, assertion is correct and a reason also is correct, but reason is not the explanation for assertion, so we choose option 2, and that is the correct answer. Now the last question. The mass of ferrous sulfate, ammonium sulfate 662, that is mole salt required to prepare 250 ml of 0.1 molar standard solution. Molar mass of mole salt is 392 gram per mole. Option 1 7.1, 12, 3 9.8, 4 9.0. Since it is a numerical question, we have to go for the calculation. And we can calculate molarity is equal to mass of the solute divided by molar mass into volume in liters, or mass is equal to molarity of the solution into molar mass of the substance into volume of solution in liter. So WA is equal to, molarity is 0.1 mole per liter and the molar mass is 392 gram per mole and volume is 250 ml, that is 0.25 liter. So the answer is 9.8 gram. So option 3 is the correct answer.